Welcome to Pages and Partners, a Muncie Public Library podcast. Discover the library through our history, buildings, staff, programs, and partnerships. Join us as we explore what makes Muncie Public Library an important part of our community.
Welcome to Pages and Partners, a Muncie Public Library podcast where we explore the stories, people, and partnerships that enrich our community. I'm Gabby Sandefer, Great Achiever Supervisor, and I'm excited to bring you another engaging conversation today. Joining me are two special guests from Ball State University, Amy Petz, Associate Dean of Strategic Engagement and Learning, and Melissa Gentry, Supervisor of the Paul W. Stout Map Collection. This year, Ball State and Muncie are celebrating a significant milestone, Bracken Library's 50th anniversary. For half of a century, Bracken has been a hub for students, faculty, and the community, offering an extensive collection from books to archival materials, maps, and more. Amy and Melissa are here to share their insights, stories, and some exciting plans surrounding this golden anniversary. Thank you guys both for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. So, to start off, could you each tell us a little bit about yourselves and your roles at Ball State University and Bracken Library?
Sure, I'm happy to. My name is Amy Petz, and as you mentioned, my title is Associate Dean of Strategic Engagement and Learning. And when I say this, often people are like, that's very buzzworthy and quite long. But I wholeheartedly love what I get the opportunity to do at university libraries at Ball State. So engagement and learning are very central to my vision for university libraries. In today's information environment with so much misinformation and really just so much information out there, it's so important to help people understand how to be connoisseurs of that information. And so in this role, I get to ensure that we offer the programming and the instruction that really helps our students and faculty and the broader community get those key information literacy skills. And so a little bit more about myself. I'm also an engaged member in Delaware County. I live in Yorktown, and I have two kids who were like incredibly excited that I was on a podcast. Like, wow, mom was doing something really, really cool this time. So, so thanks for having us.
That's wonderful. And I hope your kids like listening. I'm saying hi to them right now. Hello, Amy's children. Thank you for listening.
And I'm Melissa Gentry, and I'm the supervisor of the Paul W. Stout Map Collection since 2001. I provide instructional sessions to the university classes and present community programs, and I also curate special exhibits in the map collection. I also create custom maps for the library collection and open education resources for use in K through 12 and college classroom projects, including some of the distance learning and homeschool learning that Ball State is associated with. I also serve as the university coordinator for the Notable Women of Muncie and Delaware County project, which we do in coordination with Muncie Public Library, the Delaware County Historical Society, and Minnetrista.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you guys both for sharing a little bit about yourselves. I'm so excited to dive in more. So, as I mentioned earlier, Bracken Library is celebrating 50 years. What kind of events or initiatives are planned to mark this milestone? And while we're on that topic, are there any big public events or exhibits that listeners should look out for?
100%. We'd love to see all of you there. So our events are open to the community, and we really enjoy having the opportunity for the Delaware County community and the Ball State community to interact and have space together to learn and grow. And we actually just had our big birthday party this past Tuesday, which was really exciting. We had over 200 people attend and hear Angeline Chang speak about her experiences at the library and how that helped her grow. And then, that's in the past. So let's talk about some future events that we can really bring people in for. So in October And this is in partnership with Muncie Public Library as well as the Historical Society. We are offering Eerie Muncie, some scary stories. In November in Bracken Library, we are having Civil War reenactors come.
Oh my gosh, that sounds awesome.
Yes, I've heard that their program is really quite entertaining, and we will highlight some of the pieces of history that we hold in the libraries related to the Civil War. And then, okay, I am most excited about this because I'm an avid shopper, but in December, we will be hosting a program on the history of shopping in Muncie.
Sounds so
as
interesting.
Part of the celebrations as well. So.
And that's in coordination with Muncie Public Library, too.
That is great. That makes me think of at Minnetrista right now, they have an exhibit that is talking about the Muncie, it's like the Muncie Mall or something.
The Ball stores.
The Ball
Yeah.
stores, yes. And that made me think of that because I didn't realize until I went to a meeting there recently and they showed off that exhibit how like shopping has changed in the community, and I thought it was so cool. So that sounds wonderful. I cannot wait to attend these. That sounds great. I'm especially excited for the Erie Muncie one. I'm a bit of a spooky connoisseur myself, so that sounds great. Are there any other events you guys wanted to share, or is that about the highlight for the rest of the upcoming year? Great. That's wonderful. So kind of pivoting back to, Bracken's really exciting milestone. How has the library changed or expanded since it opened? Because it's been around for 50 years. So what are some of those expansions or changes that have happened?
So I just did a program a few weeks ago called The Women of Bracken Library, and it was 50 years of women's history. So I was looking up some of the original floor plans from the library and just looking at how things were when they moved to the new library, and I wrote down some statistics. So when the library opened in September of 1975, there were special typing rooms that were available for students to use typewriters, which is today, students would think that was really odd. There were music listening carols with headphones connected to a cassette player, and those were considered state of the art in 1975. And there were 2 smoking lounges on every floor of the library.
That is so 70s, it's not even funny. Yes. Not the smoking lounges.
Yes. And the card catalogs lined the east side of the first floor. The first computers didn't arrive at Bracken Library until the early 1980s. And for me, it was important that for the very first time in 1975, the library unboxed its collection of 8,000 maps that had just been held in storage until that time. And so now the map collection houses 140,000 maps.
It's amazing. That's amazing. I've peered in before when I was a student to the map collection, just if I was like bored at Bracken and was procrastinating my studies, and it is just gorgeous. It is gorgeous.
We try to make it look kind of like an art gallery with all of the maps.
I agree. It does feel very art gallery, and you can get really lost in the maps.
Yeah.
Just looking and you look at the year in the corner and you're like, oh, this map is like twice my age. And it's just really fascinating. As a student, I really enjoyed seeing that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have anything else to share about the changes or expansions? I am still cracking up about that smoke lounge. I think that's so funny, just how times have changed, how we're a lot more cognizant and know more about the risks of that, so we don't have that going on.
Our smoking lounge now is a contemplation space, actually, which is available to anyone in the community. It is gorgeous, and it's just a quiet place for reflection, so kind of documenting some of the change in times as well, from smoking to contemplation.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So during the planning and research for this anniversary, what was the most surprising or interesting thing or things that you discovered about Bracken Library's history?
Well, Ball State and Muncie in particular have such links to just some amazing events that happened in history, and also just to so many celebrities. And that's always been so surprising to me, and also put the pressure on when I needed to plan an event. But just in reading through some of the years of celebrations that we've had Dan Quayle, Elaine Steinbeck, Tom Cochran, WTHR filmed in 1985 in Bracken. They're live at 5.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know
And there
that.
was lines of students
Yeah.
watching, standing on card catalogs to see them
What a
film.
neat bit of history that is.
Yeah. Bob Gregory was the weatherman. Kim Hood, who was a Ball State alum, was one of the news anchors, along with Tom Cochran.
Wow. What rich history. I love that. And the fact that it's only been like 50 years and you can just find all of it. That's so cool. I'm like envisioning right now a whole bunch of students like standing just to get a peek. I love that. Wow.
And I think another, really just inspiring part of doing this work for me, is working with my colleague Melissa, who delivers so much of this outstanding program. But she did one that she mentioned on the women of Bracken, and it brought back so many of our past employees, and just to hear their stories and connect with them was just so enriching. That's why I love the work I get to do, plan parties and talk to really inspiring people.
It's kind of like the best job ever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, I love that. Well, and I like that archiving is not only just keeping track of history, but it's inviting people to share history. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, Amy got to meet Nancy Turner, who was the longtime archivist at Ball State University Library, so that was pretty nice.
I love that. I love that. Thank you guys for sharing that. I think that's so special, especially like highlighting people who might think that their job, they served and they're done, but it's like, actually, you left a lasting impact here and it's still being talked about today. So I love that preservation of history.
And when I was doing that research for the Women of Bracken, I was impressed with all of the women that were kind of continued their legacy from the old library to the new library.
Yeah.
And one of them that I thought was really important to mention was First Lady Aileen Emmons. She worked in the old library for 2.5 years. She was a special assistant to the librarian, and she would conduct assessment studies and survey the students and faculty about expanding the library hours or expanding the library spaces. And because of the research that she did, they figured out that it would be wiser to just build a new library than to try and remodel. So we can thank Aileen Emmons for expanding to Bracken Library.
That's amazing. Every time you guys walk into Emmons, if you're a student, you have to think of Eileen now and how you have your beautiful Bracken Library. So I spent many, many, many hours at Bracken as a student. I mean, some of my most fun study sessions were in one of the study rooms, just working with classmates trying to get stuff done. So I have lots of fond memories of Bracken myself. So speaking of the history of the library, what is the significance of the Bracken family and the individual it's named after? Because, you hear all these names of buildings at Ball State, but you don't really know the people behind them. So can you guys give us a little insight into the Bracken family?
So it was actually named in honor of Alexander McKnight Bracken. We always hear Alexander M. Bracken, but it's Alexander McKnight Bracken. He was the president of the Ball State University Board of Trustees at the time. But his wife, Rosemary Ball Bracken, was an integral part of the library's history, too. Rosemary was the youngest daughter of Frank C. and Elizabeth Brady Ball. She was a lifelong advocate for education and reading and was a benefactor of the university and patron of the arts. And for decades, Rosemary Bracken often attended educational and cultural programs at the library. There are lots of pictures of Rosemary and her family that you can look at on the digital media repository.
That's wonderful. I like that. I love that. I feel like library spaces tend to be, historically a lot of women were able to make a lot of strides in those spaces in times where maybe women were not able to make professional strides in other fields. So I love that you guys are pulling out these really strong champions for library services that are female. I just think that's beautiful. And it just seems very special. So thank you for sharing that. That's great. Are there any unique architectural or design features in the building? Because I do know, part of Ball State is we have a very robust architectural program that will work in partnership with the university. Is there any unique design features of the building?
So I consulted Cody Sprunger, who is the archivist for architectural and design records at the Andy Seeger Archives over in the College of Architecture and Planning as part of university libraries. He said that the idea that it was built to look like a stack of books is a delightful urban legend, but it is an urban legend. It's just kind of
is. I was so
Yeah.
curious because that's what everyone said when we went to school, is that it looks like a stack of books.
Yes, so it does look like a stack of books, but it was not built to look like a stack of books. It was actually designed by a firm called Perkins and Will in collaboration with Walter Scholler and Associates. And Walter Scholler and Associates is probably a familiar name if you're familiar with Ball State architecture, because they also designed Emmons Auditorium, Cooper Science, and Neuer Hall, among others. And I also learned from Cody that there were 1.4 million bricks used in the construction of Bracken. And if you're a fan of brutalist architecture, you probably enjoy and appreciate the exposed brick walls and the raw concrete. And I would say, just as a feature, probably the spiral stairs are the most iconic and beautiful centerpiece of the lobby.
Oh, yeah. And then I also do love the naked lady on the bottom sculpture. We would always meet there for class. There is a sculpture of a woman who is nude, and we would all meet there before we went. And then we would all go up the spiral staircase. That just brings back so many positive memories of college. So I didn't realize, though, that it was an urban legend, that it was built on the books. That is interesting. I wonder who started that, because it's had a long
It
last.
looks like it, yeah. It does look like a stack of books.
I hear it on almost every campus tour,
Yeah.
and now that I know it's urban legend, I get a chuckle.
That's so fun. I just love that so much. I'm going to start telling people that too. So can members of the general public use Bracken Library, or is it just for students and faculty?
I love that question. The community is more than welcome in our spaces. We would love to have folks visit. For $1, anyone in Delaware County can get a library card.
Really?
To Bracken, yes, or actually to university libraries, and check out materials. We actually have a collection of games and things that families may want to use with their children. So please come check us out. We have a Garfield collection with books from all across the country in different languages from the Jim Davis collection. And so we just really encourage the community to come to our events. Just come and join us at the libraries. You're more than welcome.
Well, and you heard it here, folks. People from the Muncie community are encouraged and welcomed at the library. So, and I love that just for $1, people can utilize those resources. I think that is such an equitable way to welcome everyone into the space. So I will be getting my $1 and going because I miss Bracken a lot. I loved going there. I had certain spots I would go to work as a student. It's just such a, for me, it was a cozy, studious place.
And
so.
we should let Ball State students know that they can get a Muncie Public Library card,
Yes,
too.
you can. You can get a student card, and with the student card, it goes for a whole academic school year. You are able to utilize our resources, and you can check that card. You can renew that card every year for however long that you are in school. Even if you go into grad school, you can keep having the student card, and then once you hopefully become a Muncie local, then you can get a regular card. So thank you for sharing that. We love libraries everywhere.
Yes.
So Melissa, since you're the supervisor of the Paul W. Stout Map Collection, is there anything unique in that collection that relates to the library's history or this celebration?
Yeah, so we have in the map collection, and these are also, they've been scanned, so they're available on the digital media repository. We have a collection of all the Ball State campus maps dating back to the 1920s.
Wow.
And so this week for the birthday party, I actually displayed a 1978. It's kind of a cartoon style map that was hand drawn by an unknown Ball State student. We're trying to find the identity of that student.
I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah.
It had so many neat illustrations, and it was like a Where's Waldo?
Yeah, that's what we would call it, the Where's Waldo map. And when children come into the collection, we're like, can you find? And that's what they did yesterday on social media, on Facebook and Instagram with the map. So we displayed that for the birthday party. And I always leave it out anyway, just for students to see how the campus has changed over the 50 years. So
I hope you're able to find the artist. I
Yes.
think that would be such a full circle birthday moment
Yeah.
if, you can get that artist to be like, it was me.
Right.
I just think that's great.
And it's cool when you look at the map closely, you can tell that it's hand-drawn, but then they used a typewriter to label the locations, which is just really cute.
I love that. I had a teacher when I was in high school who would use a typewriter, which was still, like, we had computers then. Like, he didn't need to use a typewriter, but it always fascinated us to watch him on it because we were so used to, like, our computers, and just to watch him on the typewriter, it was just always so fun to see. So I love watching how technology advances. So if you are the artist of that map, please contact Bracken. They want to give you their accolades. And then Amy, as someone focused on the strategic engagement and learning of Ball State University, how do you see Bracken Library evolving to serve both campus and community in the future?
Great question. And this ties in, I think, to change and to technological change, as you were talking about. But I think one thing that I always like to emphasize is that libraries are truly enduring, which I know you all know at Muncie Public as well. And when we think about the core mission of what a library is, right, we help people understand how to interact with information, and we help connect them with the resources that they need. And I don't ever see that changing. I think what those resources are and what that instruction and teaching needs to look like changes, but that core never does. And I think that's what makes me a librarian. I love that, and I love that mission. And so I think just some of the things that might be fascinating to know is that, we are really trying to meet our Ball State students where they are and with the kind of resources that they need. So often, people ask about books, and we have those, but we have a lot of other really interesting, fascinating things. Of course, maps, but also a building material sample collection. So what this is actual materials that architects may someday use in the construction of buildings. They can go and play with them, check them out, see what they're like, especially when considering, more sustainable forms of materials. We have a CPR kit that nurses and those in health professions can check out. So we're really in the business of bringing our students the resources that they need. And then, of course, helping them understand how to, and the community as well, find good information. That information that we know came from someone when it's in an archive, right? Mm-hmm. It's a primary source. They said this. They did this. So even in an age of AI and answers always on our phone, our goal is really to help people understand how information also exists in places we might not intuitively think of when we start our information journey, but that it has so much value. And so that's, again, why I love my job so much. I get to help people do these things.
That's just wonderful. And I agree, being the public-facing library, we experience that as well. And, just teaching folks that, when you are researching or looking for information, there's a lot of places you can go. Yes, the world is at our fingertips with our phones, but, you can also slow down a little bit and actually view some history if you want. So I think that's really great. So kind of veering back to, Bracken as a building. Do either of you have a favorite spot in Bracken where you guys like to sit and work?
So I do have a secret spot that I'm not willing to share.
I love that. Okay, wait, that's awesome. Okay.
But I encourage everyone to come find their own spot because they are aplenty. And I think that's what makes our space so beautiful is you will find your space. There are spaces that are quiet. There are spaces that are not quiet. And so you can find that ideal spot for you. But I just don't want mine to get crowded.
I used to sit under a picture of Abe Lincoln.
Oh, I know exactly where that is.
That was my spot, and I would sit there and work. That was so I like that you guys, I was like, mine was under Abe Lincoln. So on the second floor, I'm pretty sure is where he is.
So you mentioned the Naked Lady. There's actually two Naked Ladies in Bracken Library, and my favorite spot is next to Scherzo, who's the other Naked Lady. Forrest Idol is the one that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But Scherzo's on the west side of the first floor, right by a window. Both of those statues are actually on loan from the David Owsley Museum of Art.
Love
They're both
that.
beautiful. And she dates back to the 1920s. And I've heard another urban legend that she's actually based on a woman from Muncie. So it just makes it more interesting. But she's right by the windows. There's a great view. It's a quiet spot. And the library just got some new furniture that is installed there in that area. So it's very comfortable and very nice. So.
That's great. And then what are some of the most unique or rare items in the library's collections that you'd like to highlight?
So Paul Stout was the former map librarian, and he was able to acquire very unique maps for Bracken Library. He's the reason why we went from 8,000 to 140,000. Every year he would go to the Library of Congress summer workshop, and they would help catalog maps. It was map librarians from around the country, and they would catalog maps in their collection. And then at the end, they would put out kind of like a map swap of their so-called duplicate maps. And Paul discovered a map. It was actually published in 1919 at the end of World War I. He did some research and learned that it was actually used at the signing of the Treaty of Trianon, which created the countries of Hungary and Romania. And so
Whoa.
he went to the librarian at the Library of Congress and said, I don't think you meant to put this out. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. He had done all this research. And so at the end of that workshop, they gifted him that map since he saved it. So they gifted it to him. So that's one of the rare pieces that we have. And it's actually now in archives because it is obviously priceless.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so cool. Wow. I always take a minute when I hear about deep history like that, because as someone who works in a library, just the fact that we have those things preserved and stuff is just fascinating. When I went to the Library of Congress for the first time, I was awestruck at the amount of history that is there and stuff. So I just think that's so cool. And I love that he returned it.
Yeah.
That is such a librarian
It's
thing.
such a Paul thing. Yeah.
And
if you knew Paul, you would know. Yeah.
I just think that's
And
lovely.
it's cool too because in the archives, yes, it's preserved in the archives, but you can go and ask to see the map and they'll get it out. It's very large. It covers 4 tables, but you can see it. So you can actually view
Amazing.
these things instead of just knowing that they're there and stored. You can actually see them.
We have a lot of original drawings of much of the architecture in the state of Indiana as well.
Wow.
Some original drawings of the Colts Stadium, I think.
The RC Dome, before it was imploded.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely a place, if you're in the community, that you may want to check out and see what item will strike you.
Well, and I could imagine some of our younger children might be really interested in looking at maps. I know many of my students that I work with, they love looking at maps. There's something really neat about seeing something on paper. So for families listening, please feel free to take your children and expose them to these really wonderful, unique things we have in the collection.
Yeah, because I do classes for elementary education students, so we actually order maps and other resources that are made for children. So we have lots of puzzles and things like that they can do while they're in the map collection.
great.
So it's really fun.
Great. Well, is there anything else you all would like to share? Maybe a favorite memory, a little known fact, or ways that the public can get involved in this celebration?
So my favorite memory goes back to Paul again. In November of last year, the library actually hosted a celebration and named the map collection after Paul Stout, which
What an
meant a
honor.
lot to me and to his family. And we were really worried that night because it was a very snowy night in the middle of the week. And so many of Paul's former colleagues and other people around campus and just his friends from his church all showed up to honor his dedication to Ball State for his decades, really, of dedication to Ball State. So that's a special memory for me.
That's amazing. Do you have a special memory or a little known fact or ways for the public, Amy?
I would just say that I am so grateful to live in this community, and I think the connections that we're able to forge between, Muncie Public and University libraries at Ball State are so meaningful. They're meaningful for all of us at Ball State, and I hope that they're meaningful for the broader community. And so we encourage you to come to all of these events. These stories that we hold in our archives are our community stories. So they belong to the community, and it's always richer when people are there who can add in a little detail, oh, I remember that. That's always what makes them so rich and alive, because the story is always ongoing, as you mentioned. And so, pay attention to what we're doing, and you are welcome in our spaces.
Well, and I love that you said the story's always ongoing, and I think that's such a great way to end our podcast is, yes, Bracken's celebrating 50 years, but there's also going to be 50 more years and more after that, and that there's going to be just so much, yes, we're going to look back on the past, but we're also going to celebrate the future. So I want to thank the two of you so much for coming and sharing about Bracken. This was such a wealth of knowledge, and it was so fun just to learn certain things and to meet you both. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for listening along. We really appreciate it. And in the meantime, keep reading.
This has been Pages and Partners, a Muncie Public Library podcast. For more information about library events and resources, visit munpl.org.